We're going to try to get this in one take. My name is Naddy, and I am an assistant professor here at Shorter University. And what I'm going to do today is talk to you a little bit about the Audit Trifecta. And first of all, please allow me to thank the AICPA and the American Accounting Association for their willingness to have me in their finalists. Thank you very much. I'm excited about putting this curriculum out on the front of the stage. It's actually been a dream of mine for a while. It's the reason why I got into being a professor in the first place. There was an issue that I saw that was a pervasive issue that I call first-year shock. And it's essentially the warming up period that a staff member has from graduation, when they're considered a new hire, if you will, to the first and second year of, I guess, being a professional. And it was really debilitating to watch this happen to many staff behind me, to the point where I was finding myself in a mentorship role, really more so than I was trying to teach them the technical aspects, but mostly the behavioral aspects of auditing and professional services in general. So what I did is I decided that I was going to go back and get my PhD, and in doing so, I wrote my PhD on this phenomenon called first-year shock. Well, part of the outcomes of that dissertation is to create some kind of curriculum that would help students coming along to basically get rid of the first-year shock. Essentially what we're doing is we're taking the learning curve that happens mostly in the first couple of years of professional service, and we're putting it into the classroom. We're actually making the industry relevant in the classroom. And when I say relevant, let me tell you how this works. So the teaching strategy comes down to, we have financial accounting principles, we have auditing standards and procedures, and both of those are usually taught somewhat in an asynchronous manner. You have the financial principles, which usually span the first year to the fourth and fifth year, and they build upon each other. So you have the initial principles, you have the intermediates, and you have the advanced. Each one of those introducing new levels of accounting that needs to build on the principles before them. So in the auditing environment, from my experience looking at auditing, is that they don't necessarily build upon each other. Usually your first auditing class is almost like a buzzword. You need to figure out what all the definitions are first, the management assertions, the procedures, things like that, so that you can actually have a conversation about auditing. One of the things that I find a little bit off-putting about auditing curriculum in general is that it kind of downplays the auditing profession to a bunch of buzzwords, and it's not anything like that. The auditing profession is all about critical thinking and professional judgment. Yes, you have to have technical competence, but my issue is that when does that technical competence become professional confidence? It's the professional confidence that is going to nullify any type of first-year shock in a first or second year new hire. So what we're doing is we're taking what elements of the professional environment and we're starting to insert them into the curriculum so that students are being exposed to things that normally they would not be exposed to. Now, that's not to say that there hasn't been someone that does a basic auditing course before, but the problem with that is that usually they're thrown in and say, here, I know that we're very familiar with the dermaceutics audit, and while that's fine as far as going through a mock audit, the problem is that you're putting a whole bunch of people that have never done an audit before into a room and you're saying, here's your team, go do an audit. They don't know what to do. You usually have one person that basically takes it and runs with it because they've done a little bit more studying than the others, but the other ones are really just following along and not necessarily having that conversation that you need to have, the give and take of well, why does it do that? There's no conceptual, there's nothing about what's happening that's sinking in, because once they're done with the audit, they go on to the professional service environment and they have no idea what they're doing. And this is not unusual, this happens to everybody. So what I would like to do is I'd like to try and build this curriculum so that we're inserting these pieces of the professional service environment into their curriculum so that when they finally do graduate and enter into industry, these individuals, it's almost like a deja vu effect. And I'd rather it be, oh, I've seen that before, and recall how to do it, as opposed to, I've never seen this before, and now your learning begins. So how is this used in a class? I have a graduate class that has a bunch of Mac students in it, and this Mac environment has people that have been in industry before, have all had different types. Some are in the accounting department, some are learning more accounting so they can get into a CPA environment. So we have people from diverse backgrounds that are here. And what I noticed is that in this auditing and assurance class is that people were having trouble putting things together. And that's not to say that they can't. It's just that when you present something, an audit piece, and then you say, oh yeah, by the way, here's all of the financial principles that go with it, they weren't making the connections. And so what I decided to do is I took a little bit of it and said, okay, look, you're in an auditing course. Now, if you're auditing cash, what are the principles of cash that you're going to be using in that auditing environment? Okay, so all of a sudden the cognition happens. Well, okay, if I'm auditing cash, then here's particular assertions that I'm looking for, and those assertions are met by me looking at particular documents, and these documents, if there's errors or whatever, I'm going to be looking at this to see the financial principles behind them. All right? Now, I know cash is a very easy one to take under, but it proves the point that there's certain logical connections that need to be made in the actual curriculum itself. You can't teach principles in the sophomore year and then have them automatically expect them to recall it in their senior year and graduate years and just have it all make sense. So what you're essentially doing is you're taking all of these things and you're marrying them together at the same time they're learning the different pieces of the audit. Now, the one thing that I think is interesting is that when I started bringing in the reality of the firm environment into the class, for instance, taking the pressures of having to get something done on time, work within a team environment, evaluate your individual team members, that all of a sudden set a reality onto the group to where they said, there's a little bit more going on here. And now I'm actually forced to perform because there's other people in the room that are now relying on my work. Because of that, the original intent of the Audit Trifecta, where I was just inserting things along the line, without the students really knowing what was going on, now I decided, wow, this is actually making learning interesting. You're seeing the connections happen. You're seeing the conversations become more critical thinking, as opposed to just tell me the answer, or if I do it this way. It's actually, well, now if I look at cash from this point of view, then I need to go and run this, and then oh, that intercepts with accounts payables, and I see how that works with the cash flow statement, and it's all this giant big picture, which is what people are trying to teach them. That's what they're being told when they get to the professional environment. They just don't know the big picture. Well, how are they supposed to learn the big picture when we keep teaching them little pieces? None of us have yet put the entire thing together, and my proof of that is in my dissertation and my research, first year shock exists, and it is pervasive, it is debilitating. And if you ask any partner or senior manager in a firm environment, they will tell you that they have run into staff that have been inside this first year shock, and they are absolutely debilitated in their confidence and their competence. So again, what we'd like to do with this curriculum is we'd like to take it in the future to introduce not just busy season one, and the way that it's all carved up is that you introduce this stuff in developmental stages. So you would not expect a first year staff to go directly to notes payable. I mean, there's just too much going on there. So what you want them to do is start with maybe the cash, maybe accounts payable, you search for unrecorded liabilities. You maybe want them to do some fixed assets. Probably would not put inventory on a first year staff. Believe it or not, inventory is more than just counting. So we want to go ahead and try and make it so that there's pieces of the puzzle that they're working on, just like the firm environment would put them in, and say, you're going to learn all of these elements of the audit. At the same time, you're learning all of the elements, or relearning in this case, of financial accounting. But then also, we're going to put this firm environment in place so that you feel the daily stresses of how this works, so that when they graduate, they move from a busy season 1 to a busy season 2 environment. Now you have the busy season 1, who are the new auditors that are learning the auditing curriculum, being evaluated and brought along by the busy season 2 people. If you go one step further, now you have the busy season 3, who are essentially the seniors, if you will, since they've had 2 years, or 2 terms, if you will. They are now the seniors who are overseeing the busy season 2 and the busy season 1 folks. Why is that important? Because on each stage there are different political and social and cultural elements that need to be learned inside the professional environment. If I can use that, if I can bring those elements into the classroom, then again, it's a deja vu. It's, oh, I know I'm supposed to do this. I know my expectations. And if I don't know how to do something, it's okay to ask. But most oftentimes, you're going to see that and say, at least I know what to do, which is what first year shock is all about. It's not being able to make that cognitive, pressure-filled decision so that you essentially look like you're incompetent, which is it's furthest from the truth. The graduates have so much competence, it's just confidence that they're lacking. That's what the Audit Trifecta is all about. It's turning competence into confidence. I appreciate your time. Please take a look at all the materials in front of you. And if you have any questions, you can contact me. My name is Tim Naddy. I'm at Shorter University. I'm at tnaddy@shorter.edu. My cell phone is also 706-331-5455. I look forward to the task force making a decision, and I look forward to seeing you guys in Anaheim. Thank you.